We'd like to call this commission meeting in order. Welcome you all here today. We'd like to excuse today Commissioner Harvey. He's in Denver, so there's two of us here, so everything has to be unanimous today. That might be tough. Anyway, it's good to have you all here. Our invocation today will be given by Pastor Dave Melnack, and the Pledge of Allegiance will be given by Christy Bingham, and the thought of the day will be given by Commissioner Ford. We'll go to that point. So, Pastor Melnack, please.
Let's pray. Gracious Lord, Heavenly Father, we praise you and thank you. First of all, because when we were sinners and rebels against you, you took the first step to make reconciliation, to make peace for us, so that we could have peace. We thank you that it is possible for us to have peace with you. We thank you also for the government that you've given us, Lord, here in the United States, the greatest government in the history of mankind that has protected the freedoms that you gave us in a great way. Lord, as we come to this commission meeting, we're reminded that our commissioners are charged with protecting those freedoms for us so that we can continue to prosper, to thrive, to live according to the dictates of our own conscience. I pray that you'd help them, that they would protect our freedoms above all else, that they would make that their first priority, that they would stand in the way of those who would encroach on those liberties, that they would themselves not encroach on those liberties. And I pray that you would help us, that in as much as they protect our liberties, that we would support them in their work, that we would seek to see them succeed in what they were elected to do. I pray that they would be a blessing to us and be our servants as they were elected to do. I pray that in this commission meeting today, that the laws of our land would be upheld, our Constitution would be supported, protected, defended, that the decisions that they make would allow for us to prosper even more. And we ask these things in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this week, I think we've all experienced the tragic news that happened in New Zealand, and I think last night in the Netherlands we heard another tragedy took place. You know, my concentration usually is on positive notes, but I think it's with the things that are happening in today's world, we need to reflect back a little bit of what, how we interact with our fellow human beings and the people we work with. And somebody, a few years ago, passed on some commandments to me called the paradoxical commandments that I think if we pay attention to these, I think it makes us understand maybe our fellow human being a little bit more, but also may give us some direction for the future. Not that we can, I don't think we're in the position to stop or cure these tragedy events that take place, but maybe better understand and maybe at some point help somebody understand that we can start making a difference in other people's lives. So with your permission, Mr. Chair, I'd just like to go through a few of these. Yeah. And so these are, again, commandments that we can look to maybe help improve our lives and at the same time may improve somebody else's. So the first one goes like this: people are illogical, unreasonable, and self-centered. Love them anyway. If you do good, people will accuse you of selfish, ulterior motives. Do good anyway. If you are successful, you will win false friends and true enemies. I think some of us know that. Succeed anyway. The good you do today will be forgotten tomorrow. Do good anyway. Honesty and frankness make you vulnerable. Be honest and frank anyway. The biggest men and women with the biggest ideas can be shot down by the smallest men and women with the smallest minds. Think big anyway. People favor underdogs, but only follow top dogs. Fight for underdogs anyway. What you spend years building may be destroyed overnight. Build anyway. People really need help, but may attack you if you do help them. Help people anyway. And lastly, give the world the best you have, and you may get kicked in the teeth. Give the world the best you have anyway. That's my thought, Mr. Chair.
That's a wonderful thought. Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate that. Under public comments today. Yes, ma'am. Please come forward.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'm Jan Fulmer, 3741 Red Hawk Circle in Eden, Utah. And I would like to cordially invite all the commissioners to attend an Ogden Valley community meeting on Wednesday, March 27th at 6:30 p.m. The details on the location, the agenda, and relating supported documentation are in an information packet that was delivered to your offices prior to this meeting. At a very high level, I'd like to tell you what is in that agenda. First, there will be a presentation by a representative from the Weber Fire District on what homeowners can do to protect their homes from wildfires. Most importantly, though, the representative will address questions on the large wildfire that initiated at the Avon Gun Range in the north end of Ogden Valley this past Labor Day weekend. Given the destruction caused by wildfires in California, you can understand why Valley residents are concerned and will have questions about this fire. This fire also had a very significant impact, an economic impact, on Ogden Valley. And hopefully, feedback from the meeting attendees may provide some helpful ideas on how to better prevent fires like this from occurring in the future. The documentation in your information packet was reviewed with the Weber County Commissioner on October 2nd, 2018. However, at that time, the research to determine the exact cause of the fire, the cost to extinguish the fire, and the source of the funding to extinguish this fire had not yet been completed. The second item on the agenda is a presentation that will be made by a representative from the Forest Service. This representative will review the process the Forest Service must follow when a request is made to expand an activity into Forest Service land. The representative will also provide the meeting attendees with an update on where the Forest Service stands with respect to their review of the Nordic Valley ski area request to expand into Forest Service land. And the last item on the agenda, which may be of interest to you especially, is a follow-up to the community meeting that was held on September 17th, 2014, to solicit input from the 220 Valley people who attended this meeting on what they would like to see in the future development at Wolf Creek Resort. This meeting was held shortly after completion of the Wolf Creek federal bankruptcy hearings, and there were at least 7 different owners of the Wolf Creek parcels as a result of the federal hearings. I have to tell you that Weber County IT and Weber County Planning were extremely instrumental in supporting the data that was needed for this meeting, and you will find it interesting to find out what has resulted in the development at Wolf Creek over the last 4 years as a result of this 2014 meeting. Suffice it to say, the progress of the development in Wolf Creek has definitely supported the Ogden Valley General Plan. One more thing I'd like to note is that this community meeting is being held to ensure Ogden Valley residents have factual information on the items on this agenda. This meeting is not going to be a platform for pro and con discussions and debates on any of the items on the agenda. So we hope to see you there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Representative.
Jan, can you come up here a second?
Commissioner. I called you Representative, I'm sorry.
I've been called both. So I just want to make this clear, or have you clarify the tax notices in here for Weber Wildlife Federation. What does that have to do with the wildfire?
Well, at the time, yes, sir, it does. If you remember, Commissioner Foyer, there was a pretty large fire that started down by Bryan Head. And unfortunately, the individual that was responsible for starting that fire, which was a spark, I think, from a lawnmower or a tractor, was held liable for the expenses to put that fire out. When I met with the commissioner back in October, one of the questions that was asked was, well, how much did it cost to put out this fire? Because number one, the reservoir was closed. They had to scoop up water from the reservoir, and then a DC-10 flew over the valley to drop the red retardant, and that was pretty frightening. And it's not cheap to have those types of support to put out wildfires. What I did was some research, not only with local businesses to see how their revenues were affected over the same period the previous year, but I wanted to find out who owned the gun range, which is a private gun range, perfectly legal for that gun range to be there. But I found out it was owned by a nonprofit organization. I looked up the parcels that comprised the gun range, realized the assessed value on that property, and also realized that on one of those parcels, Weber County taxes had not been paid for 20 years, and for probably 5 to 6 years on the other parcel. So I think it's a very fair question to ask if Weber County in some way is responsible for paying to distinguish that fire. That certainly comes from tax revenue. I don't think the county has any money in reserve for wildfires. So hopefully questions will get answered at this meeting.
Thank you. I do have a conflict that evening. I'll try to make it after I have a Lantern House board meeting, but sounds like a very important meeting. I'd also encourage you to make sure this does not turn into a pro or con. Sometimes it can be very heated in the valley. I think there's some good information that could be passed on here. But citizens do get disengaged when this turns into a political stand by one side or the other. So I'd hope you'd keep this neutral. I'd hope you'd keep it very non-aggressive because meetings in the valley sometimes can go the other way with certain individuals.
I assure you, Commissioner Fourier, I have no difficulty in controlling meetings.
I believe you.
And not only that, but the rule of every community meeting when we start out is that civility be maintained at all times.
Right. I mean, it's great to hear the comments, but when they go negative and we start making attacks personally, that does not benefit anybody in the valley or in Weber County.
You are absolutely correct.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So, whoa, don't leave yet. So, I have conflicts that night too, as I believe Harvey does. But this is an important enough meeting. I'm going to try to change those so I can be there. But we have meetings at the exact same time in Salt Lake, he and I. So we'll have to see what we can do to be there, because I certainly want to be there for this.
And I realize that everybody's schedule is really busy. And, we have no guarantee how many people will show up. As a matter of fact, when we had the 2014 meeting, we were astounded at how many people showed up. But this has been advertised in the Ogden Valley News twice. It will be in the Ogden Valley News one more time prior to the meeting, and there will be a notice going out tomorrow to the HOA presidents of 26 communities in the valley. So we're hoping there will be a good turnout.
So who's calling this meeting? Is it an official group or just you?
I guess you could say it's just me.
Okay, that's fine. I just kind of wondered where this is coming from. Very good.
Go ahead.
I and my husband are very active in our community, also in working with the consultants who redid the Ogden Valley Master Plan, and we're very concerned about our valley. It is a recreation gem for this county, and we don't want to see it destroyed.
Thank you very much. And just, Jan, for your information, you may pass on, I think, when the commissioners, hopefully, if not more, will be there. We are planning on a commission meeting, this commission meeting being held in Huntsville, the 5th Tuesday of this quarter, which should be sometime in April. I believe it's the last Tuesday in April. So you might pass that on for any of the Valley residents up there. I'm sure it'll be in the Ogden Valley News, but the chair and I have agreed that at least once a quarter we'll be taking this meeting off campus to another community. For some reason, Huntsville was chosen as the first site. So,
And thank you. That is an excellent idea.
thank you.
Very good. Thanks, Janice. We appreciate that. All right. We have anybody else on public comments today? Care to? Now's your time. You can stand up and holler at us or whatever you want to. Okay, don't see anybody there. We'll go to our item F, our presentation today. Ricky Hatch.
Good morning. I'm here today to assist in making a presentation for a national award that was given to our elections office, presented by the United States Election Assistance Commission, which was created after the 2000 Bush v. Gore event. And they've created what's called a Clery Awards or Clearinghouse Awards. They have a national clearinghouse, which is a database that collects best practices from across the country and then is shared regarding election administration best practices. And Weber County was awarded that this year. The cool thing about this is Weber County, we didn't nominate ourselves. In fact, when I received a phone call from the chair of the Election Assistance Commission, I didn't even know what he was talking about, that we had won. And we were nominated by a former employee, as well as Sherry Newton from the Disability Law Center, and I've asked her to come share a few words.
Good morning. As Ricky said, my name is Sherry Newton. I'm an advocate with the Disability Law Center and the coordinator of a federal program in Utah that reaches out to citizens with disabilities to get them engaged in the electoral process, and also works with election officials to ensure that voting is accessible. For several years, I've observed the Weber County elections team. I've noted that they are promoters of good voting policy and students of best practices in elections. They read national changes, the current of national changes like a rafter on a river. And they're very generous about reaching out with their technical expertise to other Utah election officials. Given these things, I grew to respect them. My respect for Weber County changed a couple of years ago when serving on a lieutenant governor's committee that was charged with creating an RFP. Ricky and Ryan also served on that committee. And the purpose of that RFP was to secure a contract so that new voting equipment could be purchased across the state. At one meeting, a vote didn't go my way. I wasn't very happy when a vote went in a way that I thought might impact the accessibility of voting in the future for individuals with disabilities. And in the days after the meeting, I was troubled. I thought about individuals that I had spoken to, some who are blind and others, who had talked to me very emotionally about their experience of voting privately and independently for the first time, after years of having to depend on someone else to mark their ballot for them. I felt really like I had to turn this thing around, and I was thinking about what my options were, including some adversarial options. And it's at that point that Weber County reached out to me. They invited me to their office and they listened to my concerns. And then they brought in my understanding of election administration by sharing with me some of the hurdles that they encounter. So after that meeting, we were able to move forward, and a new proposal was brought before that RFP committee. It was something that everybody could get behind. Beyond that, when I met with Weber County in their office, they invited me to join them with expanding their poll worker pool to include more individuals with disabilities. And since that time on the committee, we have worked together to look at proposed election sites, voting sites, and determine if they're appropriate. We've traveled around together. And the election team has been very flexible in working with our office to ensure that residents at the George Wayland Veterans Home have the opportunity to vote. So, like I say, my opinion about Weber County changed from respect. It changed in that I really felt that I gained a partner and that we could be mutually supportive after that. It wasn't just this distant respect. Last fall, the U.S. Elections Assistance Commission invited nominations for their Clearinghouse Awards. The annual Cleary Awards, as Ricky mentioned, recognize vital contributions on a national stage and highlight best practices within the field of election administration. Naturally, I thought of Weber County. It would also seem natural that I would nominate them to receive an award in the Improving Accessibility for Voters with Disabilities category. However, I knew that Weber's excellence extended beyond serving voters with disabilities. Just as Weber reached out to me to foster a partnership, they established important collaborations with leaders in ethnic minority groups, with Weber State University, public and private schools, and local libraries. And as a result, school children learn more about electing our government leaders. Teens conduct elections using real voting equipment. University students become voters, and some of them even get involved in the election administration. Voting is marketed as a cool source of power. People are reached with opportunities to register to vote where they work, study, live, and play. And citizens can honor loved ones by voting in the honor of a veteran. With Shelley Jackson, a former Weber Elections employee, as my partner, and she was very important in providing all the resources that we needed for a nomination. We nominated Weber Elections to receive the Outstanding Innovations in Election and Administration Award, and I'm thrilled that they were chosen. Yesterday, I was sharing the good news about Weber County's practices with a couple of colleagues of mine, and their only questions were, why do they do it, and how can we duplicate it elsewhere? And I had to respond, I don't know. They're hashtag winning in Weber. Maybe that's always the way it is with innovators. We don't know what drives them, but they inspire us to want to follow and make us want to do better. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'll just give a real thank you, Sherry. I'll give just a super brief summary of some of the items that were included in the nomination form. First off was a long-term ongoing engagement with Weber State University. In 1 year, Weber State students logged over 1,000 hours of additional support and help that was provided to Weber County based off of various projects that they've worked on. We have a work study program that we work with them. They have class projects that they've been working on, anything from tech writing to translation services for their foreign language classes, to voter data analysis, to programming of mobile apps. We had a voting logo contest for Weber State where the winner won a basketball signed by Damian Lillard. We participate frequently in the block party and helped with a Rock the Vote concert. We also supported a water station or an aid station for the Ogden Marathon for the past 2 years. This is the only uphill portion of the marathon, so it's important to have a kind of lighthearted distraction for the runners as they're going up the Heartbreak Hill, mini Heartbreak Hill up there. So we had signs up there that said, "You run better than the government." Feel the burn, with a picture of Bernie Sanders. Don't be like Bill, inhale. Read my lips, breathe more air. And I can see the finish line from my front porch by Sarah Palin. And we've gotten a lot of good feedback from that station there. The elections office has participated in youth elections at Roy High School, Weber High School, Da Vinci High School, Da Vinci Academy, the K through 12 program, where they had students stand in as candidates. They had the kids register to vote and conducted the registration and provided results. We had a program that we did in partnership with the Weber County Library System where we read with some after-school programs with the kids. We would read the story of the Three Little Pigs and then read the true story of the Three Little Pig pigs, written by Alexander Wolf, A. Wolf. And then we had them vote on which story they felt was true. We have the vote in honor of a veteran program, which gives voters the chance to recognize and honor veterans as they voted. This was kicked off at the George Whalen home. And as Sherry mentioned, we've been working with voters with disabilities to try and make sure that they are included, not just as that they have the ability to cast an independent private vote, but that they also have the chance to serve as poll workers and in other capacities. This is a few of the things that the elections office has done. We have a fantastic team. I'm really proud of them, and if, with your permission, Mr. Chair, I'd like to bring them up so that we can provide them with the plaque that was given.
I want to see them all.
And I'll mention their names. We have Ryan Cowley, who is the elections director for the Weber County, and then we have Daniel Wade, who does, well, they all do too many things to even mention. We have Trinity Douglas, Megan Fitzpatrick, and Candace Warren. And they're all here, and I don't know if Ryan wants to say anything, but we have the plaque here, and I'll take pictures of them in a sec.
Well, I really don't have a whole lot to say other than, this is just the first step. We're not done. The award really was a surprise, and it's really an honor to be recognized by your peers for the things that you do. And what we do could not be possible without the great people that we have here, as well as the poll workers and those people in the community that take the time to be involved in the process that we have. So,
Couldn't we applaud you now?
sure.
This is so cool. Yeah, I just think this is absolutely fantastic that we get a national award like this. Ryan, you're to be congratulated, you and your team. This is wonderful what you do and how you represent yourselves in the county. I couldn't be more impressed than I am. This is great. Thank you very much for your service, and we appreciate you.
Thank you.
Gage, anything you care to say?
Yeah, I think the award is very well deserved. Ricky, Ryan, you guys do a great job. Your messaging out, your involvement in the community is amazing, from Weber State to the schools, to your water station that I happened to be by a couple of times. And, I did stop there probably longer than I needed to, just to talk to my friends. But yeah, congratulations to the team. It's one of the most important, if not the most important job that this county does is elections, making sure that the voters have the opportunity to have their voice heard. And your messaging out there to the public is critical to the success of that. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Ryan. We appreciate you and your team. Thank you very much. This is amazing. Pastor Melnick, thank you for your time this morning and offering that opening prayer. We appreciate you. I always like to recognize him. He puts a lot of effort into the county and to our issues, and he's a great guy.
Very involved.
Very involved. All right. It has been a wonderful opening so far. All right, we'll go to the consent items. First items are requests for approval of warrants 1724 through 1735 and warrants 437, 572 through 43, 7725 in the amount of $884,708. Request for purchases in the amount of $408,029. Request for approval to set a date of a public hearing on April 2nd at 10 o'clock a.m. to consider and take action on a request to vacate Weber County right-of-way located at approximately 4700 West and 5500 South in Hooper. Request for an approval to set the date of March 26 at 10 a.m. for a public hearing regarding amendments to the operation and capital budget of Weber County for the 2019 calendar year. Request for Weber County Garage for approval of to surplus a 1993 Volvo GMC Transport, and request for Weber County Tax Review Committee to approve to refund $3,000 $1,230.79 to Sean Hart Properties, LLC, for parcel 11-409-0006 due to incorrect acreage. I have some questions on those, that GMC pickup. Sean, do you know anything about that? Is that just an older truck for surplusing?
Correct, it is.
And it's past its youthful life as far as we're concerned?
Yes.
Okay, and then the acreage, that was, let's see, is there anybody here that can answer that? Isn't that an incorrect amount? Seems like when I read that, we had the wrong, amount on that.
And Mr. Chair, I'm not familiar with the specifics of this particular case, but generally in errors, in situations like this, the Tax Review Committee, which is comprised of various individuals in the county as well as a citizen, they meet and discuss with the property owner and make a decision based off of that, and this is the result of that ruling, or that recommendation, sorry.
Yeah, we charged them for a little over 2 acres, and in fact, they only had 32,000 square feet.
Mhm.
Okay, that was correct. Yeah, I forgot. Okay. Commissioner Farrar, do you have any questions?
I just wanted to confirm that amount, the same thing on the refund, which I'm showing as $3,230.79.
Right.
And I looked at the application for deferral of property tax settlement. It looks like those numbers are in line with each other, so that appears to be the correct number.
Very good. I'm ready for a motion then.
Mr. Chair, I would move to approve consent items G 1 through 6 as presented on the agenda.
Very good, and I'd second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Well, it's just 2 of us today. So those pass. I should mention today, I forgot to mention at the beginning of our meeting, and I apologize for that. Commissioner Harvey, if you're out there listening to this, or if you listen to this at a later time, I apologize for not excusing him today. Commissioner Harvey's on the road. He's in Denver today, and tomorrow he'll be in St. George. Boy, it's hard being him. He's a lot of travel he's doing right now. So anyway, we appreciate his time and efforts. He's actually representing us in these endeavors as the county and Commissioner Farrar and myself. So we appreciate him doing that.
We appreciate him doing the travel for us. We don't have to.
Thank you very much. All right, next item on the agenda is action items. Request for approval of a final reading of an ordinance of the Weber County Commission governing the use of fees and, at the recreation sites of Pineview and Causey. Ms. Wilbanks.
Hello. This
Mrs.
is,
Wilbanks.
as you read, this is the final reading. Last week we presented it for the first time to set up a restricted account for any fees collected around Pineview and Causey reservoirs to go into this restricted account and be used for improvements in those same areas. And as Mrs. Fulmer mentioned earlier in the public comment, the Upper Valley is quite the gym for recreation, so it will be great to generate some revenue to put back into that area.
Questions?
Nope, I'm good.
Very good. I'd take a motion then.
I would move to approve action item H1, approval of final reading, the ordinance of the County Commission of Weber County governing the use of fees obtained from recreational areas of Pineview and Causey Reservoir. And I would say this is something that I think is going to benefit everybody. And let me amend that so it's basically first ordinance number 6. Is that correct?
Yes.
Fatima? So we first ordinance number 6. And so I appreciate Holland's work on this and the Forest Service as well. We know that the traffic in the valley during certain periods of the summer are out of control, and that sometimes the garbage, et cetera, because of the use of the reservoir is very great. And hopefully this will at least help cover some of the cost in maintaining that great asset we have. Thank you.
Very good. That was a motion, and I'll second it. Fatima?
Commissioner Farrar?
Aye.
Chair Jenkins?
Aye. The ordinance passes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up is a request for approval of interlocal agreement between Weber County and South Ogden City to fund the Golden Spike Stormwater Coalition. Blaine Franson.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is, I believe, the 10th in the series of interlocal agreements with the what we call the MS4 cities in Weber County. We would anticipate that we'll probably have about 8 more of these coming. I have one more in hand, and I would anticipate we would get 1 or 2 more hopefully by the end of the week. Basically, this is a cooperative agreement between the county and the cities to complete the requirements for the state MS4 or municipal, sanitary and storm sewer permits that we have here for the state.
Very good, sir. Questions?
Nope.
Take a motion.
You ready for motion? Yeah. Motion to approve action item H2, approval of the interlocal agreement by and between Weber County and South Ogden City, the Golden Spike Stormwater Collection. And this would be referred to as resolution number 20. Is that correct?
Yes.
So it'd be a motion to approve resolution 20 as presented by Mr. Franson.
Good, and I'd second that.
Commissioner Farrar?
Aye.
Chair Jenkins?
Aye. Thank you very much.
If I could just take 1 more minute.
Please.
This will be the last time I'll be able to come and present these to the commission, at least as a employee of Weber County. I'll be retiring at the end of this month, and I appreciate the 5 years of employment that I've had here, and I would commend the commission for its outward direction and supporting the environment here throughout the state through this program. I want to thank you again.
Thank you, Blaine. We want to thank you for your time and effort and your career to the county.
Thank you.
It's wonderful, and we're going to have an open house or celebration or something, aren't we, that we can attend?
Yes, I believe this Friday.
Yeah.
That's good. We'll be there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Blaine. Excellent job for the county.
I appreciate you. All right, number 3, Duncan Olson, request for approval of contract by and between Weber County and the American Chariot Association.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
This contract is with us and the American Chariot Racing Organization. It is a split off from the organization that we've had for a long time, but operations are still up and going good. We've had a very successful season, and this is the culmination, the championship. So it's a discount on our fees and arenas. In trade for sponsorship to become a sponsor for the World Championships. Yeah. Any questions?
When is that going to be?
So it started last Saturday and Sunday, and then it goes again this Saturday and Sunday. We tried to get it on last week's agenda. It was pretty full, and we missed that.
Oh, that's good. So this Saturday and Sunday, that's good. Commissioner?
What type of turnout have you had out there from the public?
Really pretty good. We had of course it was gorgeous days both Saturday and Sunday, and so we had about 1,000 people between the rail and the stands. It's been a really successful season. They've given away about $44,000 back to the chariot racers, which is something that they've done new this year. We're hoping that really revitalizes the chariot world.
Where does that money come from?
So that money comes from sponsors in the local community, as well as from the racers finding people to sponsor their race teams and entry fees.
Oh, good. Yeah, it's a great job.
Good job. I'm ready for
It's a great event.
Yep.
Mr. Chair, I would move to approve action item 3, approval of the contract by and between Weber County and American Chariot Racing, Inc. to host the 2019 American Chariot Racing World Championship at the Golden Spike Event Center.
Very good, and I'd second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thanks,
Very good,
Commissioners.
unanimous. Thanks, Duncan. We appreciate that. All right, I need a motion to close this meeting, go into a public hearing.
Mr. Chair, I would make the motion we adjourn this meeting and enter into a public hearing.
Very good.
Public hearing.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. We're now in a public hearing to consider or take action on vacating a 10-foot public utility easement on the north side of Lot 5 in the Gallup Bend subdivision. Felix,
Yes.
how are you?
Doing well, thank you guys.
Good. You're going to make this presentation to us.
That's right. Yep. Just to kind of give a little bit of background of why this application is before you today is the lot owner of lot number 5. He has a home on the property. He built it last year. So now he's looking to build an accessory structure in the back, basically in the backyard. And the site plan that he submitted, it showed that the place that he wanted to put the structure was encroaching into an existing public utility easement. And so he then came to us, the planning division, and asked, what can be done about this? So then we says, okay, here's what we recommend. You go through the process of getting this public utility easement vacated. And so that's kind of where we are today. So it's a 10-foot public utility easement on the north side of the property. The front and rear easements will stay in place. And the procedures involved to get this, to have this public hearing is of course noticing. And there's also some things that are considered by the county commission is there good cause for the vacation? And neither public interest or person is materially injured by this. And so just after reviewing and following state procedure, the staff recommends approval of this vacation. Also, the Weber County Engineering has made a site visit and their recommendation was to vacate only the north public utility easement, which is the direction we've gone with this petition.
Very good. Questions?
So Felix, I'm assuming then in this easement, there's no existing utilities?
That's correct.
So it was set up in the original plat but never utilized for utilities?
That's correct.
Is that correct?
Yes.
That's all I have.
Very good. Thank you, Felix. Are there members of the public here today that came to comment to this? There's only a couple of you out there. We don't see any, so if that's the case, I'm ready for a motion to close the public hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Motion to adjourn our public hearing and reconvene a public meeting.
Very good. I second that. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Very good. We're back now into a public meeting where we can act on this if we'd care to.
Mr. Chair, I'd make a motion
Yes.
to approve to vacate the 10-foot public utility easement located on the north side of Lot 5 of Gallup Bend subdivision as presented in our public hearing this morning.
Ordinance
Good.
7.
And I would second that. Go ahead, Fatima.
Commissioner Forer.
Aye.
And Chair Jenkins.
Aye. Very good. That's approved. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Felix, we appreciate you coming here today.
Thank you.
You bet. Very good. Commissioner comments. Commissioner Forer, anything you'd like to say today?
Well, you probably understand this was the last day of winter, and there's a sunshine out there and the sun's coming out. Makes me feel a little bad I didn't get more time on the ski hill, but looking forward maybe to a little ski time and a little more time on the golf course as the summer approaches. So
Yeah.
maybe a little green time. So
You know,
if things settle down just a little bit, which they probably won't.
I don't know about you. I was expecting to spend some time in the legislature this year, but you and me being old legislators, man, we were there at least 2 days every week, and several weeks we were there 3 days, and I think there was 1 week you were there 4 days.
4 days, yeah.
So we spent much more time at the legislature than we had anticipated. But you know what? I was kind of going through that. Everything we went down and worked for and lobbied went through.
It did, yeah.
And everything we fought against died.
Right, yeah.
So I think as a representation of our actions this year in the legislature.
Congratulations. Yeah, I would agree with that. I thought I was through with that place and they were through with me, but I ended up spending, like you say, at least 2 days and some days 4, close to 5 down there. But it's interesting, the relationships still exist. It's fun to go out on the floor, and a lot of the friendships that developed years ago are still there. Yeah. And we both know that those relationships are what makes a difference when you talk about legislation. And they take time, these legislators take time to listen to you And really, that's what I think the benefit of county officials being down at the legislature, the state capitol are. Yeah,
I agree with that. We were much more successful than I had anticipated we would be.
worked out well.
Yeah. All right, so the last thing I have to ask is why do we have this Utah State Tax Commission up on our monitor?
I can answer that.
Okay?
I'm thinking of an answer. No, just kidding. This afternoon, we've invited all of the local local taxing entities and the cities to come to the commission chambers, and we will be. We've done this in the past, but not recently. This is kind of a training meeting or a question meeting. We're bringing the State Tax Commission here to answer any questions that the cities and taxing entities might have about the process of setting tax rates and how it functions here at the county. So it's just a good training and facilitation exercise where we all learn together.
And who's coming into that meeting, Ricky?
The Utah State Tax Commission will be the main presenters, although we'll have the assessor, treasurer, and clerk auditor present. But it will be all the cities, their finance, pretty much the people who are in charge of setting tax rates for the cities, school district, taxing entities, mosquito, fire, all of those.
Yeah, I got to say, this is something that's very important. After, on rev and tax for 10 or 12 years, it took me 3 years to even get my mind around this whole system. And after looking at it, it's a great system, but very few people, in my mind, truly understand the certified tax rate system, truth in taxation, how this all flows together. And in my mind, it's a great system. So for people to understand it, I wish more people in the public would have this opportunity to really understand how we arrive at that, because in them it's just receiving a tax bill and that somebody in the back office decided how much they should pay, and it's not that at all.
Yeah.
And so I again applaud you for taking time to educate some people.
Great.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I appreciate that. So, one motion left,
Motion to adjourn.
and all fair say aye. Aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thanks, Gage.
Thank you. Good job.